Hello, friends. I'm DJ Lance Rock, and I have to say, Rock and Roll Grad School is awesome!
This is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. Here they are with tips for teens.
Hello, kiddies. We're going to have a real good time together because today it's DJ Lance Rock Day.
Which is a really big day.
It really is. We talked with the one and only DJ Lance Rock from Gabba Gabba fame.
Yes.
But so much more. I think in the conversation we found, not only does he really know his music, but he's a lot of fun to hang out with.
He's so fun. He's so cool. And in addition to, if you go, well, I don't have kids and I never watched that show.
Doesn't matter.
A music fan, yeah. And he's an incredible DJ outside of the TV world in his own right, spinning some amazing tunes and doing some really cool stuff.
And I hear there's a party in his tummy.
I hear that as well.
So yummy. And it's interesting. He also appears in the Sparks documentary, which gives us a chance to talk about them again.
Yes, which, we always do.
Did you see the footage from this weekend?
Not yet, but I saw like the pictures of like We Made It Mom and all that, but I haven't watched.
I haven't watched all of it. I watched a little bit. I watched the stuff that the band themselves tweeted out. Which just that is amazing. And then a bunch of the photos of celebrities who showed up.
Of course.
Because they're, you know how they always do this, the photo of the band. So Sunday Nights was taken by Edgar Wright, of course.
But of course, I mean, I would expect nothing less. Right.
And then we need to acknowledge that the Sparks Tiny Desk concert just came out on the NPR format system, which is lovely. Even if the elder told me it doesn't really sound like Russell, and I was like, dude, it's Russell, trust me.
Yeah, but I get it. It's like a different setup for them.
Yeah, but they still get the sound. They don't go completely acoustic like other groups.
Yeah.
There, but and then we just have a lot of really cool people coming up that it's going to be a fun conversation to go over all of those.
Excellent.
None of our listeners will be crying in their latte.
Well, thank God for that.
So many listeners.
So many lattes.
Exactly.
So little tears.
Exactly, yes. Not 98. No.
Or 96.
Oh, is it 96? You're right. As soon as it came to mind, I was like, that's question mark and Mysterians. I thought they were 99. Isn't somebody 99? I know there's 99 Left Balloons.
There are definitely 99 Left Balloons.
I know 13 Steps Laid Down.
It's definitely 96 Tears.
I think you're right. I take that back. You are right. I just know it.
But there might be 99 Tears or 98 Tears somewhere else.
I mean, there should be, frankly. There is by 99 Left Balloons. Sky Ferreira. Doesn't look like a song that I would know. So 99 Left Balloons, 96 Tears, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, 13 Steps Laid Down. Anything else we miss? 12 Days of Christmas.
100 Years. What's that really sad but lovely Five for Fighting song? 100 Years. And it goes for all the ages. Yeah. It's a very sweet song.
All right. Well, them too.
Gabba Gabba!
when I was doing research before we talked to you, the first thing I saw that was that you grew up in St. Louis, moved to LA, and your first job in LA was at Amoeba Records.
Uh, it was
Or
my
one of the
first
first,
job, but
because
Way
that
to
seems to me,
script the history, Luke.
I know.
Right out of the gate.
my first job was at a pizza place on Fairfax called Damiano's, which is no longer around, but it was pretty crazy.
Well, let me put it this way then. I haven't had dreams about being locked inside Damiano's, whereas Amoeba Records, I have had that dream of wanting to be locked in it.
Absolutely. It was indescribable, because it was so big, but you're there every day. You would think you get a little desensitized to it, but you couldn't. It was a pretty great place. Because what it did is it brought together this community of like-minded people in Los Angeles. And because it's so spread out and it's car culture and people drive everywhere, a lot of these people never connected. So it brought all these people to a centralized place, which was great. So all these people that I had all this stuff in common with, I'd never met, even though I'd been out there, at that point, for, like 5 years. Gosh, it's going to be 28 years I've been out here. Time flies. But yeah, it's great. I actually just DJ'd at Amoeba at the new location a couple of weeks ago. And, they still just have the same sort of vibe and spirit of just trying to, curate really good music to people.
I think that is sort of the magic of life, are those places specifically linked to music where it's just everything is culminating together. And like you said, like-minded people you didn't even at the time you didn't even have to leave work either time. And all these people just flock to you and you can have these amazing
Absolutely.
Conversations. It's perfect.
And even when I wasn't paying attention, like when I stopped working there and, I'd still go there and shop and, I'm walking in one day, I'm like, what are all these people doing here? Oh, Carlene Carter is about to perform, like,
Of course.
sure, what else gonna happen? It was great. And it still is. There's all kinds of, really wonderful experiences there. It's a great place.
Well, then as a DJ, you're doing the same thing in a different setting, right? You're creating that energy wherever you're spinning.
I try to. That's why I've got all these different records, because everything's different. What I choose to play at home, I'm not going to necessarily play out.
Of course.
But I also know, you don't want to just, I'm going to play. I don't want to be, just, a request DJ and just play what people want to play. Most of the time, I don't even try to talk to the people if I'm DJing, but you should be mindful of your environment and what's going to fit it. You don't want to just play something that's, I like Diamanda Gallis, but I'm not going to necessarily DJ her out.
Right.
Fair. I mean, it's a different party, certainly.
It is a different party. Still a party, just different.
Yeah.
A very rare party too. We'll put it
right.
Yes.
Very
Exclusive. Yes.
Exactly. Intimate.
So where are you guys based? I was just curious because I was listening to a couple of the interviews and I heard you were saying that you had these ice storms that were messing with the connection.
That could have happened to either of us, but it was probably me.
I believe it was you, yeah.
I'm in Detroit.
Oh, okay.
So now we have the fog and the smog and the fire and the not so great.
Yeah, and I'm outside Philly, and we're also have smog and fog and everything happening here too. So it's just great. It's life affirming.
Yeah.
Both great places, and both have music scenes that really resonate with me.
Excellent.
Yeah. So when did you get into music? I'm assuming as a child you started listening to stuff.
I did get into music as a child. My parents, listened to a lot of music and a lot of different stuff. And some of it I didn't appreciate, but now I've come to appreciate it. My dad would, he was a military man. He was a career Army guy. And, but he really liked his Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals. So we had to listen to a lot of that stuff, which, I wasn't a fan of, but I've kind of have an appreciation of how well they were, composed and performed now. but
Mhm.
he was born in Memphis, so we kind of had that sort of vibe as well. And he liked a lot of, old country music and blues. So, imagine living in St. Louis and going on a trip to Colorado and just having to listen to a lot of Lead Belly and Jimmy Rogers and stuff. So
When did you get into DJing? When did that kind of turn into, I want to do
DJing
something,
was
I
much,
want to
much
be part of this world,
DJing was much later because I was really into music in around, I'd say 89. I met some friends, or there were people I had already known, and we were going out a lot trying to see all the bands that would come into town, and we didn't get, the breadth of, bands that you get now. So we took whatever we could get. So you would see the same people who were into the music. So, we struck up some friendships, and about 3 or 4 of us ended up forming a band. So there was a band in St. Louis called My Other Self. And, I'm still friends with, all the guys and gals that were in the band today. But we just started performing. And then this was around the time that, I guess you call it the second summer of love was happening, and all the music from, Detroit and Chicago and other places was kind of filtering into the UK. And so, it filtered over there, then it came back here. So the raves started happening, and we went to a couple of them. And I just remember walking into this, the ambient room, the chill out room.
Yes.
And the DJ was playing Slow Dive. And it was just such this crazy experience. It's like, wow, you can play that at a place like this. And he was mixing in all this other stuff. And that's the first time I was like, I think I want to be a DJ, because I was really into hip hop growing up, but that wasn't really what I was just more, like, wow, Run DMC and their presence and stuff like that. But I didn't think I wanted to be Jam Master Jay, But hearing this guy take different sounds and different tempos and just things that you never thought would go together, like, I can do this. So I started off like as an ambient DJ, because I like doing the sound collages and mixing that stuff, and so that was like the early 90s, I guess. And so it evolved out into other stuff, but that's where I started.
DJing is such an art form that I feel until you've been in the room where you don't get it. People don't understand the art form. It's one of those art forms that until they've walked into a room like that or seen you work, or we work with a DJ who's just amazing. And until you experience that, you have no concept, but it's such an incredible art form.
It's just, and the problem also, I think, Heidi, is that it's so different, like hip hop DJing is completely different from like club DJing,
Right.
where you're gonna, beat and match all night long. And, there's just all different kinds.
Yeah.
And I remember when I came out here, it was like 97, I believe. And we went to go see Norman J, who was like, the popular Northern Soul DJ. And he came over here, and all these people were complaining, and they were like, oh, because he was just playing 45s, and he'd play them and let it go to the end and put on the next song. And he was playing great music. And a lot of people appreciated it, but a lot of people were like, he's not a DJ. He can't do this. So at one point, he's just like, okay, that's what you want. So he took like a 20-minute set, 15-minute set, and he just mixed in all this incredible stuff. And I remember it culminated, he had this breakbeat thing on, and then he mixed in Aretha Franklin, Respect, and people were going crazy. And it's like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to play 45s again.
You good now?
What it's
Let's
about.
get back
So
to the show.
When I came out here, like on Melrose, there was like 7, like DJ shops, there was like DMC and all these different ones. And it was really back about the DJ battle and stuff like that, and a lot of that stuff's cool, but that's not my aesthetic at all. Like, I don't look at music as a competition. I think of it as communication. So I'm more about trying to, convey something to people instead of like, hey, I'm going to beat you at this. So, there's that element there, and that's fine. There's something for everybody,
Yes.
but I'm on a different trip than that.
Totally.
Yeah. And it makes sense, because I was going to say, like, did you have any interest or ambition to do something working with kids, working in TV? And it seems like the answer is no. It's, you were all
Not at
about
all.
the music.
Not at all. Well, what had happened is that my friend Chris Curtis, who was in the band by himself with me in St. Louis, he had moved out to LA first. And then when I came out a couple of years later, we started a new group and called the Rainmakers. And we were playing around a little bit, and we just caught the attention of some people, and we ended up getting a DJ show, just like a radio DJ show, on one of the first internet radio stations called Spike Radio. So while we were doing that, we had access to a whole library of other music besides our own. And we came across this, it was like an indie pop label out of Chicago, I believe. And it was a compilation of all these people. And there was a band on there called Majestic. And they were from Orange County, which wasn't that far away. And we kind of liked them. So we rang them up and it's like, hey, we'd like to do some shows together. So we did like a small West Coast tour. And the lead singer of that band happened to be Scott Schultz, who was the co-creator of Yo Gabba Gabba. And so he said, you know, we did a show one night at the knitting factory that used to be in Hollywood. And he said, that night I knew I was going to ask you to do the show, but I had no clue about it at that time. And he called me up a few months later and it's like, hey, you want to be the host of a kids show? I was like, sure. Because we really enjoyed touring with these guys and we liked where they were coming from. So I'm like, yeah, you know, but I didn't have any idea that it would turn into what it did at all. Not a clue.
We have had guests, as you've seen, I mean, guests from all aspects of music and just legends from all aspects of the industry. I will tell you, you are by far the person that my friends and family have been most excited that we're talking
wow.
about, because they just can't believe it. I've had cousins who've been you for Halloween. All of my nephews, friends once removed. Everyone's like, wait, what? No way. So it certainly took off and was not just, I mean, every kid show is amazing, but it has such a special place in the world.
Well, you know, I think the thing is because it doesn't condescend.
Right.
It's just
Imagine that.
Well, it's like, you know, kids grow up in households like, you know, when Tony Hawk was on a lot. So it's like his kids are like, oh,
right.
I can skateboard. I can do that, you know, like, so whether you're Flea or whether you're Buzz, like, you know, punk musicians have kids, rappers have kids, you know, electronic musicians have kids, you know, graffiti, like, so all these children are exposed to that stuff anyway. So everything doesn't have to be Barney. Not that there's anything wrong with Barney, but it's just.
It's different. Again, different party.
A different party. But since all of this stuff is in their environment and like, you know, drum machines and computers and like loud guitars and skateboards and stuff, you know, we're on the West Coast. So a lot of people like to surf and stuff. So all of those cultures kind of permeate the child's upbringing. So why not include it? And that's, yeah. And just present it. You don't even have to make a big deal. It's here.
Right. It's
some
just
kids
there.
like it. Some kids don't. I remember our first season, you know, Cornelius was in town and we really wanted to get them on. And, you know, the producers were freaking out like, this is too much for kids. It's a really great clip and, you know, it's got a lot of views and people really enjoyed it. You know, you just have to do it.
Yes. Yes.
Were there any guests? Because, I mean, to your point, like the guest list of folks who did the show was insane, from Biz Markie to Anthony Bourdain to, like you said, Cornelius. Was there anyone where you got the word like, oh, they're interested in coming, or we're going to ask them? We were just like, no way this person knows this show exists and wants to be part of it.
I don't know, because there were so many hands involved in trying to make decisions. And then once the show got, you know, a lot of attention and started becoming successful, then, you know, a lot of outside hands wanted to come in. But, you know, both Scott Schultz and Christian Jacobs, you know, the co-creators, you know, they're both in bands. And, Christian Jacobs is an acrobat. So he had a whole, network of people. Like they would always go on the Warp Tour and all these big tours. So he had a lot of his musician buddies. So pulling between like, who Christian wanted, who Scott wanted, who I wanted, who, other people on the show wanted. There was always a big pool. And a lot of times you just made suggestions and, they didn't always end up on the show, but they did end up on the show. Like for instance, Black Moth Super Rainbow ended up just doing a jingle for us, but it would have been great if they could come and perform, but they're out there in Pennsylvania. So,
Pennsylvanians.
Yeah.
but
it was better this way. Like they did a nice
Yes.
little jingle. And a lot of the people were, out of the country, so they could just submit something. And I don't know how to answer the question because I don't know everybody who said they wanted to be on the show, but I know we reached out to tons and tons of people, and if they could do it, most of the people were into it. And you could tell, the people who didn't have kids because they were just like, but then like when Jack Black came, he was so great because
so good.
they kept trying to get him to leave. They're like, okay, you can only be here 4 hours or something, or 6 hours. And he stayed like 9 hours. He stayed like 3 full hours longer. And they're like, come on, you got to go. He's like, no, I want to do this because, I think he just had his firstborn son, Sammy. And so he's like, I really want to do something that, I can watch with my kid. And so you can tell the people who really wanted to do as the best job they could. And Anthony Bourdain was like that, which was really funny because he was like, I'm so nervous. I'm like, you're nervous? What are you talking about, man?
Dr. Tony? No.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, he just wanted to do a good job for his daughter. And so those kind of things, I really appreciate that the show really helped bring, parents and their kids closer together sometimes so they could sit there and kind of enjoy the show.
And that's so funny what you just said too, because you don't think about it, but kids are probably anybody's toughest audience, right? I mean, the most beloved audience, but the ones you want to do it right for your kids. So it would be 10 times more stressful than being on set for your regular day.
Yeah, you would think, but a lot of people don't think about that until
they're in it. Yes,
exactly.
Yes, that's
who was the biggest handful on set? Was it Broby? Because I feel like it was probably Broby.
Well, they all had different issues. Clutch was probably the least problematic because he's a magic robot. But I'm just gonna go with Bro because he was the baby, and so he had to learn after everybody else. They already knew the lessons, and plus he had to be zipped up in the back, so he was kind of
makes sense. The other thing too that I love about the show is the beat of the day with Biz Markie.
Yeah.
And if anyone can say it, I'm assuming you could, but is it true nobody could beat the Biz?
Nobody beat the Biz ever. He was, it was great. I probably shouldn't tell the story, so that means I'm going to tell it. When we first started,
you're a kind of guest. Yeah.
When the show was first, like in development, we ended up going out to a Nickelodeon in Burbank, and they had some kids there, and they were doing a little test, and we watched the show. Like, wow, it runs pretty well. And then somebody, some professional came back and said, "Oh, you can't have Biz Markie on the show. What are you talking about? Like, he can't be on the show. It's like kids will be afraid of him." And so that was the start of how things were going. So I always remember that was always in the back of my head. And I would watch that we would do these shows. He was like Santa Claus, kids would run up to him, and he was
Biz Markie's so lovable.
A big kid, but that's the problem, unfortunately, with like corporate media and things like that. They just have this mindset, and it's like until it happens, they can't conceive of it.
So how are you able to get through that? I mean, because you guys you flipped the script on so many things to be able to do these things.
Because we just did it. We all had been in bands, and we just had, and not like, these big major label bands. We just were out there doing it. That was, it was kind of a DIY attitude. It's like, this is what we're going to do. And we just went out there and did it. And, if we fall on our face, oh well, but we had fun doing it. And that was the thing. We came out there and just tried to make the best show. And then when we did the live show, that was when it was really, it took off. And I remember one of the first shows we did, Snoop Dogg was the music. He was the dancey dance guest, and he came out there and he did the peanut butter stomp, which is the one that Elijah Wood did on the first one. But he was like, squishy, and it was really funny. But I come out there to do the show and I'm like, holy crap, there's Cornell Yankovic and there's Jason Bateman. And there were all these people, and I'm like trying to keep it together, but I'm like, I can't believe all these people are there, but they're all smiling and into it. So, there's just a point where once you're out there, it's like you're on the tightrope without a net. And so you just gotta stay in the zone. And so it was nerve-wracking almost every time, but once you were out there and you could see people were genuinely into it, you just went for it. So,
and it seems like kind of what you've done since the show went off the air as well, that you're doing these live shows, DJing or with kids. It's the same tightrope in some ways of getting an audience and keeping an audience.
Absolutely. We're trying to do different things. And, at this point, I last year I did a residency at Knott's Berry Farm, which was kind of interesting because, they've got their whole setup and the way that they do things, and they've been around for so many years, but they just thought, hey, we'll try something like this because, it was, coming, all the restrictions of COVID were starting to wind down, and one of the theaters hadn't been in use for 2 years. So, well, let's see what we can do here. So we got to workshop a show, but this was the first time I'd been on stage in this capacity by myself. So that was kind of a new thing as well, but it actually ended up, it was a good experience. I learned a lot of different things from it. And, it's all about trying to keep that connection with the families, and just maybe sprinkle in a different, little bit of music, because we got to make the playlists before the shows. And there were 2 different shows that we did, so we did, show A, show B, show A, show B, every performance over the weekend. And, it was all kinds of stuff. We played, different stuff from Ema Sumac and different exotic stuff to some Philly soul or, Wycliffe or something. We just, it's just exposing people to the music, Well,
that's what it takes, right? I mean, who'd have thought that's what that someone would get on a day at Knott's Berry Farm?
Yeah, you just don't know.
You don't know.
You just look at all these things. Like, for example, did anyone think, on paper, oh, Ted Lasso is going to be a good idea?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yes.
If there's something that you're like, I really want to do this, I'm feeling this, I've got this creative spirit, I just want to put that out there, And it's great if you have people that support you, but if not, if you really want to do it, you still have to go out there and try to pursue it.
Because nothing more, at least you're having fun.
It started off a little nerve-wracking, but then once, because 80% of this was new material. We had written a bunch of songs and worked on some stuff. And I mean, I did 3 things from Gabba, I think. That was it. It was just, a freeze game, DJ Lance says, and I forgot what else, but Dancing's easy. And that's it. But everything else was new. And so you're trying to rely on the audience. And the great thing was a lot of people came back multiple times just to check it out. And it was good. So it started off, the train pulls out a little slow, but once we got going, once we picked up a little steam, it was good. It was a fun experience.
And is that what you're working on now? Are you expanding that idea, taking it around? What are you up to? What are you working on?
Yeah, it's hard, because people, the touring industry is definitely trying to kick back into full mode now, and You know, we're just looking at different venues. You know, obviously we didn't go back to Knott's this year, but you know, we're just trying to see how we can expand it. And you know, and actually 3 weeks from today, we'll be down in San Diego for Comic-Con.
Oh, that'll be amazing.
And you know, they're kind of getting back into it because we went last year because that was the first time it had been in person for a couple of years, and you know, people were just coming back. But I think this year a lot of people will be back.
I
So
agree.
you know, we're gonna, you know, have some, you know, new merchandise, and you know, I'm working on another kids book right now. I did one earlier called The ABCs of Awesomeness, and so we're working on another one, and we're gonna do a couple of panels, and you know, we're just trying to let people know, hey, you know, I'm still out here alive and kicking. So
Love it.
I was a Funko Pop.
What is your reaction to that? And what is your reaction to the fact that on the secondary market, you are far more valuable than Rob Halford of Judas Priest?
I'm annoyed because I don't even I have one set of them, but then they did one that was a glow in the dark one, and that thing is worth like $500 or something.
Yeah.
Like, can I get one?
You don't
I
have
even
one.
have one.
No, someone has to part with it and send it to you.
I don't know. Somebody said I'll sell it to you for $300.
No. It doesn't
like,
work that way.
I'm okay. But no, Funko they're just a really fun company to work with, and they're really great. And you know, I did one of those Funko talks, you know, one of the pop talks with them, and they're just, you know, they're like you guys. They're just passionate about what they do, you know. And I like, you know, because we're talking, and then I can kind of peek and see like the little Debbie Harry print back there. And like it's great, you know. And I've got XTC, you've got Elvis Costello, you've got Tribe Called Quest, you know, it's all, you know. It's all good like that. And so,
it's always nice when you find those people that are in your group and you don't even realize it yet.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. Music's supposed to bring people together. And that's ultimately, that's what, you know, I like to do. But I know, you know, a lot of people, you know, sometimes you gotta lead the horse to water. And some people like, I don't know if I like this kind of music, but if you just kind of expose them to it without like, now, Johnny, eat your spinach, you know, like if you're just like, wow, this is some good food. And, you know, we noticed a lot of things because on one of the, you know, on the alphabet book, you know, we're trying to change it up. So we don't want, you know, A is for apple. So everything's different. And like, you know, B is for boombox, and like T is for turntable. So we got all those kind of things. But K is for kale. And like when we read that, you know, sometimes we'll ask the kids, how many of you like kale? And the cans keep going up more and more now. It's like it's just increasing. I'm like, well, that's great. It's really good. And instead of, you know, this is good for you, so you have to eat it. We just put it there, and you know, if they make their own decisions, you know, it's cool to see.
And speaking of someone who is late to the Brussels sprouts party, I feel like they got a bad rap as a punchline for way too long. But that might be me.
Well, that's because nobody realized you could break them out of those giant balls of disgustingness into little flaky, beautiful things with balsamic vinegar on them.
Yeah, but when you chop them up or you toast them,
that's the key.
That's what really makes it.
Yeah, people were boiling them far too long. That was nasty.
I know. That was. I'm pretty much done with almost all vegetables except for cabbage. I gotta. That's the one I gotta work on. But
no party in your tummy with the cabbage.
No cabbage, no kimchi, no sauerkraut.
Yeah, I'm not down with those. I mean, I'll do cabbage in a coleslaw, but that's it.
It's hard. It's hard. I don't do a lot.
It's got to be doctored and pretended like it, you know.
But I figure if I've got 99 out of 100,
yeah, you're doing pretty good. I think
you're batting. Yeah, that's fine.
You know,
in fact, everyone should have one that you don't like. It'd be weird if you liked them all.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But
so,
yes.
No, go ahead. You were going to say something. I was just going to say,
getting back to Funko, they're just really passionate about all this stuff. And I like that, you know, I don't know everything that they put out, but, you know, they're like, you know, everybody's a fan of something. So they've got a lot of the Marvel universe, and they've got a lot of the superheroes, and they've got a lot of the, you know, sports things. But they've really expanded on their music side. You know, they've got the big figure of, you know, Notorious B.I.G., you know, which is a cool one. And then they've got all these sets, you know. I've got the one that was kind of like it's got the figure, but it's also the album cover. So I've got
Mhm.
the Blood Diary of a Madman by
That's
Ozzy Osbourne one.
That's
And
amazing.
you know, they're cool, you know. It's like I'm not a
They
huge
are.
collector. I mean, I'm a huge collector of this stuff, and
Yes.
so I can't be collecting everything. But you know, I've got a few that I really dig. You know, they got a John Waters one that they did,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and you know, and a couple of Devo ones, you know, with
Yes.
the Energy Dome. So yeah, those are things. I wish I would have had those when I was younger. So
Oh,
I'm
me
glad
too.
they're out there, and you
Yes.
can get them now, and you know, you can have your kids get into that stuff. It's fun to watch. People are really excited about that.
It is.
One other thing, you are a fan of Sparks.
I'm gonna go see them at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, I want to go to the Hollywood Bowl to see them so bad.
I saw them last night. I don't have a question for you. I just would like to give you the platform to sing their praises for a moment.
Yes, I can't sing their praises high enough. I don't remember exactly when I got into them, but I think it was gosh, Angst in My Pants,
Oh,
I believe.
one of my favorites.
It was right before Valley Girl came out, you know, and I had heard something from them, you know. It actually might have been Tips for Teens, but it was right around that area. And then, you know, Valley Girl and Eaten by the Monster of Love and all that stuff. I was like, wow, this is great. And, you know, unfortunately, at that time, you know, I lived in Leavenworth, Kansas, because my dad had got out of the army and we was working for the government. So we were there for about 7 or 8 years. So that was a good time to grow up there. You know, it was kind of fun. But I just remember, you know, hearing that stuff and thinking, wow, you know, where can I get more of this? And you know, we had one record store because Leavenworth is like really close to Kansas City, and you know, Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. So we would go to both of them. But you know, I'll let you guys know this: the reason that I wanted to have Bootsy Collins be my dad on the show is because the very first concert I ever went to was Bootsy's Rubber Band can function in radio at Kemper Arena.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
So
Amazing.
you know, my parents were cool enough that they took us, you know, like that's what I always appreciate for whatever they were into, you know, like I was saying, like what my dad would listen to, he still listened to, you know, some cool blues and bluegrass stuff, and I appreciated it later. But my mom, you know, she was like, we grew up, and you know, she was listening to like Nina Simone, Sarah Vaughan, Dinah Washington, you know, Johnny Mathis. We listened to the Fifth Dimension a lot because they were from St. Louis. So that was really cool. But then, you know, we grew up and had a copy of Bitches Brew in the house, you know, which I had no appreciation of until many years later, you know. Like that cover always kind of freaked me out when I was, and then I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I appreciate that they like an eclectic taste in music.
Yes.
Cool.
I totally
Yeah.
agree.
Bootsy,
Getting
that's
back to Sparks. I'm sorry.
well, yes,
Oh,
I was gonna say
no,
Bootsy is
I'll-
a high
yes.
bar to jump for any other show to ever equal.
Right.
That's your first one into the water. I mean,
It blew my mind, but it just made me want to just see more things
Just
all
more.
the time. So it didn't even, you know, it didn't even matter at that point. You know, like it just the world has changed so much, and it's just so weird because I do think, you know, we did before we had, you know, cell phones and all of that stuff like that. You know, you just had to go out and find out stuff, and we were able to figure out stuff. People had fanzines. You'd go to this, you know, record store. People would just tell you about something. Oh, you should check this out. Sometimes they had it where you could listen to music. So you had to figure that out for yourself. You didn't have, you know, Pitchfork or somebody recommending it. You know,
Right.
that's a great thing to have now, but you know, it kind of makes, if you want to be into this is what you need to listen
Right.
instead of developing your own taste. You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
the D
But-
kind of snobbishness of music,
Yeah,
or you just hate the quality of it all.
yeah, I just find a lot of that kind of like, you know, this sounds good to my ear, so I like it. So I don't have to, it's like, oh, you know, but you like all this electro. How can you like Big Black, or how can you like Marshall Crenshaw or whatever like that? You know, I've seen him live 3 times. I love that guy. You know,
Mhm.
It's just, good music is good music.
Hey everyone, it's lunchtime. Time to eat. Here you go, Groby. Time to eat.
I'm gonna eat, yeah. Yummy, yummy, gonna eat.
For more information on DJ Lance Rock, check out his website, djlancerock.org, and you can follow him on Instagram, where he is at DJ Lance Rock OG.
You can check us out on all the various socials. Be sure to visit our website at rockandrollgradschool.com, and don't forget to leave us a review.
Today's show is produced by myself and Heidi Hedquist. Our reluctant producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thank you, good night, and may all your favorite bands stay together.
Now there's a party in my tummy. Yummy, yummy. Huh? Why are you sad?
We want to go to the party. The party in your tummy.
Carrots want to go to the party in my tummy?